There's just one Hebrew word in this morning's Torah portion that feels really important. And we find it at the beginning, and we find it again at the end, transformed. The first time we see it is right at the start. Shlach lecha anashim, says God to Moses, v'yaturu et eretz Canaan. Send out spies so that they will scout the land of Canaan. And we know from Chloe, and Chloe, thank you for being my chavruta for this sermon, my study partner. We know from you what happened next. The expedition is a disaster. 10 of the scouts return only to proclaim that entering the land will be impossible. And what they say they saw, the Torah never tells us that they actually did, becomes the trigger for a wave of dread and catastrophe and a night of weeping and despair. The people are punished measure for measure. None of the people who saw my presence and the signs I performed, rages God, shall see the land. None of those who spurn me shall see it. The fault is a fault of sight. The seeing, the scouting is somehow wrong. And the second time we encounter the word, the same word, is at the end. And many of you can probably join in with this line. V'haya lachem letzitzit, u'r'item oto, u'zchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam, v'lo taturu, acharei levavchem v'acharei enechem, asher tem zonim achareihem. This shall be your tzitzit. You shall see it and remember all the Holy One's commandment and keep them, so that you do not go following after your eyes. V'lo taturu, acharei levavchem v'acharei enechem. So this morning I want to take a few minutes to dive deep into that word about somehow seeing wrong at the beginning of the Parsha, and then somehow, once again, seeing right or seeing better at the end of it. It has a message for us in these turbulent times that, like our tzitzit, we need to remember and keep. Latur is a rare word in biblical Hebrew. It has this sense of scouting about and looking, but not really being quite certain what it is we're looking for. And the related noun in modern Hebrew is the word for tourist, tayarim, people who go round in circles, but never in straight lines. And wandering about in this way is a high-risk activity. Our teacher Rashi tells us that our eyes are the spies of the body. They act as its agents for wrongdoing. The eye sees, says Rashi, and then the heart wants, and then the body goes running off after what it wants. And it turns out that Rashi, who died in 1105, I want to remind us, is actually completely scientifically correct. Our eyesight begins with our eyes taking in an image. And once they've picked the image up, there's a process by which the image is translated and understood by the brain. And at that point, sight has turned into vision. The brain's ability to process the information that comes in at the eyes, and then on the basis of that information, we act. The problem is that it is very easy to fool our eyes. Most of us as kids, and some of us as adults as well, go through a phase where we are captivated by optical illusions. There are lines with arrows on the end of them that make lines of the same length look like they're different lengths. There are dots surrounded by big dots that make the middle dot look small, or small dots that make the middle dot look big. but in fact the dot was the same size all the time. And in doing my research for this sermon, I also learned that our eyes are constantly moving back and forth. We don't even perceive it. This is called saccades, and because of it, we perceive optical art moving around on a page when the page itself is still. And all of this is happening because our brains make assumptions about what we see. It takes us about 13 milliseconds to select the most likely interpretation of what we see and turn it into what we understand. And the problem is our brains. Our brains don't always get it right because they're full of former impressions, and the former impressions can and do bias what we see in the present and what we imagine for the future. What we are seeing now and how we interpret how our future is going to be is governed by the way we process what we see. And when this eye-brain connection turns negative, it's a very dangerous thing. So to return to the spies, we can now see that this is exactly what happened with them. They saw something. We don't know what it was, but they saw it. They took it in. They made connections based on their prior experience, and then they began to imagine a future, and just like that, they are doomed. There is a savage irony in the fact that they get exactly what they wanted all along. They will never get into the land. And as Chloe observed, neither will the second generation either. And we face the same danger now. Every single day we are exposed to a multitude of brutal images and bitter horrors. We know for a fact that second-hand violence, trauma that we see but do not directly experience, hurts us just from watching it. The more we are exposed to it, the more damage it causes us. Psychologists call this vicarious traumatization. It can affect up to 1/4 of the population at any time. The violence that we take in through our eyes changes the way that we perceive the world in the present and threatens the way that we form our view of the future. So here's the paradox in this Torah portion. We must guard our sight, but we mustn't lose our vision. And the tradition has at least 3 ways of helping us to do that. Here are just 3. The first practice is from Rabbeinu Bachya. He lived in southern Spain, and in the year 1080, he published a collection of Jewish ethics called Chovot HaLevavot, the duties of the heart. And he offers 10 gates through which to view the world. One of these gates is Sha'ar HaPrishut, the gate of detachment. And this is what he writes. Try to shut your eyes, he says, and spare your senses from beholding that which you have no need of, or which will disturb your heart from thinking on what will benefit you. Abstain from looking at anything superfluous, just as you would abstain from anything that would harm you. Instead, use your sight and your gaze to look upon the works of the divine Creator, study them and reflect upon them, and learn through them your Creator's power and wisdom and goodness. Notice the strategy here. First, we take a beat. We make the choice to close our eyes just for a moment. We don't do it because we want to hide, and we don't do it because we want to shut down. We're just pacing ourselves. We won't look away from the pain in the world, but we will close our eyes so that we can remind ourselves to see truly and then act justly based on what it is that we truly see. And then we open our eyes again, says Bachya, and we look around us and we expand our focus and remind ourselves of the actuality of wonder, of everything that is greater than we are. And that way, teaches Bachya, we keep a hold of our vision. The second way is from Rabbi Meir, student of Rabbi Akiva, teacher from the Talmud. And he says that we should narrow our focus to a single object, the blue thread of the tzitzit, so as not to blindly go following after our eyes and our hearts. Focused meditation, one pointed focus, one thing only. For Rabbi Meir, it's the blue which is the color of the sky, and for Ramban, it is the blue which is the color of our dreams. And by narrowing our focus, we concentrate and sustain our vision. But not every moment is a moment of inner or outer contemplation. Somehow we have to be able to keep pace with the world as it is, and the sights that are pouring in upon us. And for this, we listen to our ancestors. The Talmud describes how students would leave the study hall, that they would depart with a prayer. I and Rabbi Jensen and Rabbi Panitz heard this prayer from the lips of our teacher, Rabbi Dorf, the moment before we were ordained, the moment before we were bound to step out and take up our duty into the world. But it doesn't just belong to rabbis, this prayer. It belongs to every single seeker of wisdom. It's a long prayer. I'm going to quote selectively from it. It says, and we hear, may your eyelids look directly before you, your eyes shine in the light of Torah, and your face radiate like the brightness of the firmament. And just as for all of us on that day, so too for all of us in this community and all of us in the world. This is how we must use our eyes, not for scouting around, vulnerable to whatever we might interpret from what it is that we see, but looking straight ahead and remembering our vision. And by looking straight ahead, striving to bring our vision into the world. Please shut your eyes. Please take a breath. And before you open your eyes again, decide, what will best nourish my vision this week? Will I expand my gaze and draw strength from the majesty and the mystery of creation? Or will I narrow my gaze to a single point of focus that will inspire my dreams? You decide. I wish we could stay here. But we have to open our eyes again. We must go back into the world. But we will do it looking straight forward. And we will not lose hold of our vision. Shabbat Shalom.